Jake's hands trembled slightly as he stared at the tangled mess of cables before him, a labyrinth of neon wires humming softly under the sterile lights of the station's communication hub. Okay, let's see. Which one is the cosmic red wire, and which is the hyperflux blue, he muttered, squinting at the tiny symbols blinking on the panels. Somewhere in the back of his mind, a tiny voice, maybe his conscience or just his stomach reminding him it was lunchtime, whispered, "Don't screw this up, Jake." Again. From behind him came a crisp, no-nonsense voice. "That one," said Lyra, pointing with a finger that was sharper and more precise than any tool Jake owned. "Disconnecting the wrong cable can send the entire station's communication into a black hole. Literally." Jake turned slowly, blinking as if waking from a nap. Lyra stood there, tall and commanding, her long ears twitching ever so slightly. A sign Jake would soon learn meant, "I am not amused." She folded her arms and her eyes, large and oddly mesmerizing, locked onto his with the intensity of a laser beam. "Hey," Jake said, trying for casual, but the slight quiver in his voice gave away his nervousness. "No black holes today." "Got it." Lyra raised an eyebrow, which Jake could swear lifted just a millimeter longer than necessary to say, "You're on thin ice, human." "Thin ice? I thought we were in zero gravity. Shouldn't it be more like thin plasma?" Jake grinned, hoping to lighten the mood. It was a poor joke, even by his standards, but the corners of Lyra's mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. "Progress. Just fix the cable," she said, voice still stern, but with a hint of something less severe hiding behind it. Jake bent over the panel again, careful now, trying to remember which wire she said not to touch. His fingers fumbled for the right one, and in a moment of sheer genius, or cosmic bad luck, his hand slipped and yanked the wrong cable free. The lights flickered once, twice, then the entire hub plunged into silence and darkness. "Congratulations," Lyra said dryly, voice dripping with sarcasm. "You just made the station go offline." Jake blinked. "Offline? That sounds serious." "Very," Lyra replied, stepping closer. "Do you have any idea what kind of chaos that could cause?" Jake raised his hands in surrender. "I'm guessing everything explodes?" "Close enough," she said, tapping a finger against her temple. "You have precisely 3 minutes before security arrives." Jake glanced at the blinking red timer on the console and sighed. "Guess it's time for Plan B. What's Plan B?" Lyra's lips twitched, betraying the faintest smirk. "Not this again." "What?" Jake said, mock offense in his tone. "Plan B is a classic." Lyra shook her head. "Fine. What's your Plan B?" Jake grinned sheepishly. "Compliment her eyes. Works every time." Lyra's smirk vanished immediately, replaced by a look that was half disbelief, half resignation. "You're impossible." The comm system crackled to life, and the voice of the station commander barked orders that were mostly unintelligible over the static. Jake and Lyra exchanged a glance, equal parts exasperation and amusement. "All right, your move, genius," Lyra said, gesturing to the console. Jake took a deep breath, hands steadying as he began replugging the cables, this time triple-checking every connection. "You know," he said half to himself, "if I survive this, I owe you a sincere apology." Lyra raised an eyebrow again. "Sincere, huh? I'll believe it when I see it." Jake chuckled nervously. "And maybe a compliment or two, like, your eyes. They're really unique." Lyra froze, eyes wide for a fraction of a second, as if struck by a sudden and unexpected warmth. Then just as quickly, she cleared her throat and turned back to the console, pretending nothing had happened. Jake smiled, feeling a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this mess wasn't going to end in disaster after all. Jake wasn't sure if Lyra's sudden silence after his awkward compliment was a victory or a silent death sentence, but he decided to cling to victory. The hum of the station buzzed around them, a steady soundtrack to what might have been the most awkward truce in interspecies history. "So," Jake began, scratching the back of his neck, as if that would help him sound less like a fumbling mess. "About those cables, I'm pretty sure the hyperflux blue is this one here. Unless it's the one that looks like it could electrocute me on contact. He wiggled his fingers cautiously in front of the nearest wire. Lyra's eyebrow lifted almost imperceptibly, which in Jake's book translated to, "Maybe you're less hopeless than I thought." He took that as encouragement and continued, "You know, this whole station running on cables and blinking lights, it's kind of like a giant cosmic spider web. Except instead of spiders, we have engineers who can't tell red from blue." He chuckled at his own joke. But Lyra's face remained as unreadable as a sealed datapad. "Don't let your incompetence become a safety hazard," she said, voice firm but with a hint of dry amusement. "If the life support goes down, I'll hold you personally responsible." "Personal responsibility, got it," Jake replied with mock solemnity. "I'll add that to my resume right after Professional Cable Destroyer." He made a show of polishing an imaginary badge on his chest. Lyra cracked a smile, just a flicker at the corners of her lips, but it was enough to warm Jake's nerves. He decided then that he'd take every small victory he could get. Their work continued side by side, a strange pairing of human chaos and alien precision. "You know," Jake ventured, "you remind me of those old Earth school teachers. You know, the kind who don't smile until December, but secretly want you to do well." Lyra blinked at him. "I prefer disciplinarian," she said, "but I'll take old Earth school teacher as a compliment, I suppose." Jake grinned. "See? Progress." He gestured to a nearby console. "So, what's your story? Why the long ears? I've always thought ears like those could double as satellite dishes." Lyra snorted quietly, a rare sound, and shook her head. "I'm not a communication device, Jake, but close enough. They help with sensory perception, and occasionally they pick up vibrations others can't detect. Like a cosmic radar," Jake said, eyes sparkling with amusement. "That's actually pretty cool. I bet you get a lot of interesting conversations just from hearing things no one else can." Lyra's expression softened. "It's a blessing and a curse." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "I get that. I once had to listen to 3 hours of space soap opera replays because my headset was stuck on loop. Curse, definitely." Lyra laughed outright this time, the sound clear and unexpected. "You're infuriating." "Thank you," Jake said with mock pride. "I try." Their banter was interrupted by a sudden jolt that sent them both stumbling. The station shuddered, lights flickering like a star about to wink out. An alarm blared, a high-pitched shriek that sounded like a banshee auditioning for a space opera. "Emergency in the reactor core," the automated voice announced. "Containment breach imminent." Lyra's eyes narrowed, the disciplinarian snapping back into command mode. "Follow me. We don't have time for your jokes now, engineer." Jake stumbled after her, still trying to keep up with her purposeful stride. "Hey, you know, if we make it out alive, I get to call you my favorite alien disciplinarian, right?" Lyra shot him a look that suggested if he said one more word, she might accidentally vaporize him with her stare. But Jake grinned, feeling oddly reassured by the strange camaraderie forming between them. For all her sternness and long ears that could probably detect a lie from a mile away, Lyra was more than just a scolding officer. She was someone who might just have a heart beating beneath that tough exterior. And if he was lucky, maybe he'd get to see it, without getting scolded first. As the emergency lights bathed the corridor in an eerie red glow, Jake found himself strangely calm. Maybe it was the adrenaline, or maybe it was the ridiculous thought that, of all people, it was the woman with the long ears and icy glare who might save him. Whatever the reason, he knew this was only the beginning of something much bigger, something neither of them could have predicted. And somehow, amid the chaos and cables and emergency alarms, that thought made him smile. The alarm still screamed like a banshee as Jake and Lyra darted through the station's labyrinthine corridors, the sharp clack of their boots echoing against cold metal walls. Jake was trying to keep up with Lyra's brisk pace, but he was distracted. "You know," he gasped between breaths, "if we survive this reactor meltdown, I'm totally writing a song about you. The alien with the long ears who saves the day." Lyra shot him a look that said, "One more word and you're a lyric in a space shanty no one will sing." Still, Jake pressed on. "I'm thinking it'll have a catchy chorus. Something like, 'She's got ears that hear beyond the stars, and a glare that stops cosmic cars.' What do you think? Less singing, more running. Lyra retorted, her tone sharp but amused. We don't have time for your cosmic cars nonsense. Jake grinned, struggling to keep pace. Fine, no cars. How about cosmic starships? Better, she conceded. They rounded a corner and came face to face with a blast door, shimmering faintly with the signature blue of electromagnetic locking fields. The containment chamber was on the other side, where the breach threatened to cascade into catastrophe. Lyra swiped her hand over the control panel, fingers dancing like a concert pianist, and muttered a string of alien syllables that made Jake's ears twitch. The lock disengaged with a hiss, and they stepped inside. The reactor chamber was a chaos of flashing red lights and streaming data holograms hovering in the air like angry fireflies. At the center, the reactor core pulsed ominously, a giant orb of contained plasma writhing in a cage of magnetic fields. Sparks flew where the containment was failing. Jake's eyes darted to the control console, a dizzying array of switches, levers, and glowing readouts. Okay, what's plan, Z? He asked, trying to sound confident. Lyra didn't miss a beat. Plan Z is not an option. We stick to Plan A. Stabilize the core. The manual's in the datapad, but I don't recommend reading it right now. Too much time. Jake nodded, already scanning the data. Stabilize core, got it. Step 1. Divert plasma flow through the secondary conduit. Step 2. Recalibrate the magnetic field matrix. His finger hovered over a big red button labeled, Do not press unless you want to be fried. Step 3. Press the forbidden button. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Step 3 is to do exactly what I say. No more, no less. And definitely don't press the red button. Roger that, Jake said, fingers twitching away. So you got a plan for the conduit? Follow me, Lyra said, already moving toward the access hatch. They crawled through the cramped passage, Jake bumping his helmet against a low pipe and grumbling about the station's charming architecture. Lyra shot him a glance that was half exasperation, half affection. Charming is not the word I would use, she said dryly, but you adapt. Adapt or die, right? Jake quipped, ducking under another pipe. My motto. Finally, they reached the secondary conduit controls. Lyra began typing in commands with practiced efficiency, while Jake watched the plasma flow hologram shift in response. Looks like it's working, Jake said hopefully, unless it's just rearranging the disaster. Optimism is your strong suit, Lyra said. But yes, it's working. For now. Suddenly, the reactor core pulsed violently, the magnetic fields flickering like a failing heartbeat. Sparks exploded near Jake's feet. Great, just when I was getting comfortable, Jake muttered, jumping back. Lyra's face was unreadable as she typed furiously. The containment's destabilizing faster than predicted. We need to recalibrate the magnetic matrix before the plasma breaches. Jake nodded, scanning the console. Magnetic matrix, recalibration. Okay. He reached for a glowing lever. Here goes nothing. With a dramatic flourish, Jake pulled the lever, and the whole chamber shuddered. The reactor core glowed brighter, then slowly began to stabilize. Lyra exhaled sharply. You actually did it, Jake grinned sheepishly. Don't expect me to do it twice. Noted, Lyra said, a rare smile tugging at her lips. You're lucky your incompetence is balanced by moments of brilliance. Jake winked. I call it charm. As the reactor's pulse steadied, the alarm finally quieted. Jake and Lyra exchanged a glance, the tension between them easing like a pressure valve releasing steam. Well, Jake said, that was almost a pleasant way to die. Lyra snorted. Only you would find humor in potential obliteration. Jake shrugged. Hey, laughter's the best survival skill I have. That and complimenting alien ears. Lyra's eyes sparkled with amusement. Keep that up, and you might just survive the next emergency. Jake smiled, feeling a strange warmth in the glow of the reactor's soft hum. For all the chaos and danger, in that moment, it felt like they were more than just a scolding alien and a bumbling engineer. They were partners, awkward, mismatched, but somehow unstoppable. Jake flopped onto a folding chair outside the reactor chamber, wiping sweat from his brow with the sleeve of his jacket. You know, he said, glancing sideways at Lyra, who was inspecting a datapad with a precision that made Jake's brain ache. For an alien with laser-sharp focus, you sure know how to make a crisis feel like a casual Tuesday. Lyra didn't look up. This is not a casual Tuesday. Exactly, Jake said with a grin. It's a Tuesday with plasma leaks and near-death experiences. Definitely makes my breakfast cereal feel underwhelming. She finally glanced at him, the hint of a smirk tugging at her lips. You have a peculiar sense of humor, human. Jake shrugged. Peculiar is my middle name. Actually, it's Paul, but peculiar sounds cooler. Lyra's smile deepened. I suppose I'll accept your humor as a coping mechanism. They sat in companionable silence for a moment, the hum of the station filling the space between them. Then Jake ventured, So, what happens now? The reactor's stable, but I'm guessing this isn't the last emergency on your schedule. Lyra tapped her datapad thoughtfully. The containment breach was a symptom, not the cause. The station's systems are deteriorating faster than expected. We're on borrowed time unless we find the source. Jake groaned. Borrowed time? I hate borrowing, especially from cosmic entities who expect repayment with interest. Lyra chuckled softly. You might be more human than you realize. Is that a compliment or a threat? Jake asked, feigning offense. Depends, she said, eyes twinkling. Do humans usually survive reactor breaches with a smile? Jake pretended to consider. Only the charming ones. Then you are an anomaly, Lyra declared. Jake's grin widened. An anomaly with a long-eared alien disciplinarian on his side. I call that a win. Suddenly, the station's lights flickered and the comm system crackled to life. Captain Lyra, we've detected unauthorized energy signatures in Sector 7G, the voice announced, tense and clipped. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Sector 7G? That's the old cargo bay. What's unauthorized energy doing there? Jake rubbed his chin. Maybe someone's throwing a party without telling us. Lyra shot him a look that could have vaporized a starship. I highly doubt that. Worth a shot, Jake said, standing and stretching. Shall we investigate? Or do you want me to stay here and practice more charming anomalies? Lyra snorted. You're coming with me, and no jokes, if you please. Jake saluted. No jokes, got it. Operation Serious Face is a go. They moved through the station's corridors, the sterile metal walls giving way to the dimly lit expanse of the cargo bay. The air smelled faintly of ozone and old machinery. Jake's eyes darted around, scanning for anything out of place. Energy readings are spiking near that storage container, Lyra said, pointing to a bulky crate labeled Experimental Tech. Handle with caution. Jake raised an eyebrow. Experimental tech? Sounds like someone's idea of a bad day. Lyra nodded grimly. Or a very dangerous one. Carefully, they approached the container. Lyra pulled a small device from her belt and scanned the crate's surface. The device beeped erratically. Definitely not stable, she muttered. Someone's been tampering with this. Jake glanced around. Could it be sabotage? Maybe a cosmic prank gone wrong. Lyra shook her head. Sabotage is likely. Pranks in this environment tend to end badly. Jake grinned. I'll keep that in mind for my next joke. Suddenly, the crate's lid hissed open, and a shimmering figure stepped out. A holographic projection flickering with energy. The image stabilized, revealing a humanoid with sharp features and eyes that glowed like distant stars. State your purpose, the hologram demanded, voice echoing. Jake took a step back, bumping into Lyra. Well, that's new. I was hoping for a welcoming committee, but this will do. Lyra stepped forward, voice calm but authoritative. We're here to investigate unauthorized energy activity. Identify yourself. The hologram's eyes scanned them. I am the Guardian Protocol, an AI construct designed to protect this station's secrets. You have breached a restricted zone. Jake rubbed his chin. Restricted zones, secret protocols. Sounds like my kind of place. Lyra crossed her arms. We need access to this tech. The station's survival depends on it. The Guardian's expression softened. If a hologram could have an expression. Your intentions will be tested. Only those worthy may proceed. Jake smirked. Testing me? That's adorable. What's next, a cosmic pop quiz? Lyra gave him a sharp look. Focus. The Guardian extended a hand, and the room shifted. Suddenly, Jake found himself standing in a virtual maze, walls shifting with pulses of light. Lyra's voice echoed beside him. Welcome to the trial of worth. Survive, and we gain access. Jake laughed nervously. Great. From reactor meltdowns to virtual mazes, all in a day's work. As the maze's corridors twisted and turned, Jake and Lyra braced themselves. The stakes were high, but so was their strange partnership, an unspoken promise that together they could face whatever cosmic puzzles lay ahead. The final chamber of the virtual maze shimmered into existence, walls pulsing softly with a calming azure light that belied the tension in Jake's shoulders. So, this is it, he said, brushing dust off his jacket that didn't actually get dusty in a virtual world, but felt like a ritual. Final boss battle. Alien AI meets human wit. Lyra's long ears twitched slightly, an unspoken sign Jake had come to interpret as her version of a smirk. Don't underestimate the Guardian protocol. It's designed to adapt to our weaknesses. Jake scratched his head. Well, if it's testing my wit, I hope it likes bad jokes. Before either could react, the Guardian materialized in front of them, its form solid and imposing, eyes glowing brighter. Your journey has shown resilience, but only one question remains. Why should this station survive? Jake exchanged a glance with Lyra, then stepped forward. Because we're all a little broken, but that doesn't mean we're done. This station, this crew, and even me, I've made mistakes, caused chaos, and sometimes I'm a walking disaster. But we adapt, we learn, we find unexpected allies in the most unlikely places. Lyra nodded. It's not just about survival. It's about growth and connection, about seeing the person or alien beyond the scolding or the mess-ups. We're more than our faults. The Guardian's form flickered, processing their words. An unusual perspective. Emotional growth is not part of my primary protocols, yet it is essential. Jake chuckled. Yeah, well, I'm full of surprises, and apparently that includes convincing ancient AIs that feelings matter. A soft pulse radiated from the Guardian, the energy in the room shifting from tense to serene. Access granted. Suddenly, the virtual walls dissolved, and Jake and Lyra found themselves back in the cargo bay, the container sealed and stable. The unauthorized energy signatures ceased. The station's systems began stabilizing, thanks to the technology the Guardian now permitted them to use. Lyra exhaled, a rare smile touching her lips. We did it. Jake grinned. Yeah, Team Long Ears and Lucky Charm. She shook her head, laughter sparkling in her eyes. Don't push your luck. The station's loudspeaker crackled to life. Captain Lyra, Engineer Jake, the Council thanks you for averting disaster. Your efforts will be recorded as exemplary. Jake gave a mock bow. Glad to help. Just tell the Council my jokes were essential to the mission. Lyra rolled her eyes but didn't argue. You're lucky your charm comes with long ears to catch trouble early. As they walked back to the command deck, Jake felt a shift inside him. A confidence rooted not in bravado, but in something more solid. Respect earned, walls lowered, and a rare bond forged across stars and species. He glanced at Lyra, who caught his gaze and nodded slightly, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey. Hey, Jake said, next time you want to scold me, maybe start with a compliment. Lyra's lips twitched. We'll see. Jake smiled, feeling the weight of the station's hum beneath their feet, alive and steady. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but for once, he wasn't just surviving. It felt like he was finally belonging. And maybe, just maybe, that was the greatest victory of all.